Wait, I will. Hey, what's up, everybody? We are two Dynamite Dudes with Attitude, and we're here to cover all things AEW Friday Night Dynamite. What do you want?
Can you give me a little bit more oomph? Little pop?
Yeah, here you go, Dominic. Fuck you. Let's get rolling on this episode of Two Dynamite Dudes with Attitude. And guys, let me tell you, it was something else. We had a major debut here with Dynamite. Dominic, you're drinking out of your Double J cup. By the way, I'm Marcus D'Angelo. I'm not of WrestleZone.com, just loosely affiliated because I do this podcast and one more for the website. And then there's Dominic D'Angelo, my slapdick brother, who is of WrestleZone.com, an esteemed journalist. And I'm just reading your headline below your name there, dude.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so Dominic, how you doing? What did you think of this episode of Dynamite just right out of the gate?
Well, Mark, I felt left out because I was just in Jacksonville for Double or Nothing, and felt like I kind of missed some of the boat here a little bit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it was pleasantly surprising. You know, you think it being a Friday night and 10 p.m. that like typically like what your mindset is okay, it's going to be a good follow-up show, but nothing crazy super wild is going to happen. And we had some crazy super wild stuff happening here, right?
Yeah, some really good stuff. Some stuff that wasn't great. But for the most part, you know, I found a lot of positives to take away from this.
Hey, Marcus, what if you had to guess? Hold on, if you had to guess what Jacksonville's minor league baseball team name is, what do you think it is, or do you know by chance?
Yeah, Dominic, they're the Jacksonville Mudflaps.
No, you are way wrong.
So what are they, Dom?
The Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. I got this here while it was down there, and yes. I didn't even see a game, but I was like, I should get a minor league baseball team hat because I'm not a Jaguars fan. So what kind of person would I be if I got the Jaguars hat?
Well, I'll tell you right now, Dominic, nobody gives a shit. DJ Cass here, Andrade, but why with Vicky Guerrero? I don't know. It feels like a natural thing to me, right? Andrade, he's got this, the spicy Latino thing, much like Eddie. He's kind of like this unbelievably skilled wrestler, much like Eddie. So it's like, hey, why not pair him with Vicky Guerrero? It kind of makes sense to me. I don't know about you, Dominic.
Yeah, I mean, like we can dive. Do you want to just dive into that right now? Like,
yeah, screw it. Let's just jump on in on the Andrade stuff. I'll say, Dominic, when Vicky came out and she said third generation wrestler, I immediately thought Joe Hennig, and I was like, holy shit, it's happening.
Did you get that?
I started getting all pumped up. I was like, what does Joe Hennig look like right now? He hasn't been on TV in like over a year. I was getting out ahead of it. I was like, I hope he's shredded. But then all of a sudden Andrade came out. But I was pumped up, man. I think that Andrade, he looks like $1 million. There's no denying that. It's a little bit of an awkward intro. Like it like I don't know what happened. I feel like somebody missed a beat or a cue or something like that. But like Vicky came out and it was very like stilted and awkward. But I don't think it should take away from the fact that he comes out and just immediately commands the audience's attention. I'm excited, Dom. I'm excited to see what Tony Khan comes up with here. What did you think?
So like, yeah, a lot of the feedback was like it was kind of like there wasn't a huge reaction for him. But I think granted, now Double or Nothing was big. It was sold out and there was a crowd there. And even people watching that via their pay-per-view were saying like, well, it didn't come across as like, like vocal, like the crowd. Some of its stuff didn't seem as loud as it was. But let me tell you, I was there and it was loud. Like fans were amped up. So, now you factor in the point that, okay, those people that came in for Double or Nothing are gone. You have a Jacksonville crowd. They're there for a Dynamite follow-up here at 10 p.m. nonetheless. They saw some elevation and they saw some dark tapings beforehand, and now they're getting this. And then you factor in maybe the transition of the crossover of it, being in an open space like Daly's place and how it comes across via television. Maybe that reaction wasn't big on coming across on TV or as big, but maybe it had a little more oomph in it if you were there, you know what I mean? And I think and either way, it doesn't matter. Like it basically does not matter how their reaction came across, because you know what? It's all going to matter how Andrade handles it all.
how he's positioned. And by the way, good afternoon, guys. Thank you for joining us. Nesha, good afternoon. John, thanks for joining us. Anybody else who's in here, thanks for joining us, guys. Nesha, I think it makes a very interesting point here, Dominic. I don't know if she did it intentionally, but she's saying, I thought Chavo. Could you imagine a crew with Chavo, Vicky Guerrero, and Andrade?
Yeah, that'd be something.
I'd like to see Sammy Guevara get thrown into that mix. Like that could be something very entertaining. But it's Andrade's coming out and he's already got all this hype behind him. I think that putting him with a cool mouthpiece like Vicky Guerrero, like some very unlikable heel manager like Vicky Guerrero, is only going to do good things for him. So I'm excited to see what he does. He had a very Ric Flair vibe, didn't he?
Yes,
he came out in the suit with like the shades. He's looking slick. So I think he's picked up a couple pointers from Nate,
from the old father-in-law coming up.
Dom John is saying it was more of a shock than a pop for Andrade. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I was definitely shocked. Like, because I mean, like I've said, it's like, a Friday night at 10 p.m. Like, you don't expect a big thing like that to happen, and sure enough, it happened. And that was right after they introduced Mark Henry. So you're expecting, what's Mark gonna say? And like he kind of teases that he's got a lot left in the tank. We'll get to that in a little bit. But then you have this. So, yeah, it was a bit of a shock, I would say. And, yeah, man, I think that was like the sharpest suit I've ever seen, maybe, was what Andrade was wearing. And, how did you think? I wanted to go back and watch it again because I only watched it once as I was covering the show. And obviously, like, I'm covering the show. That's a shocker of a debut and all that stuff. So I didn't get a chance to really get a good grasp of his promo and all that. How do you think it came across?
I thought he did fine. He didn't set the world on fire, but it was a good intro promo. It's doing a good intro, like your first introduction to a new promotion. Nailing it is kind of hard. Not everybody gets the Chris Jericho build up. Not everybody gets the Taz where they come out and they beat some established star. Sometimes you just got to go out cold and cut a promo.
Yeah.
So I thought he did fine. Like I said, he wasn't anything unbelievable. More than anything, Dom, you hear so much about Andrade, and me, a guy who does not watch the WWE product, hasn't for a long time. I'm like, I'll be forthcoming. I've seen maybe one of his matches. I think I happened to catch one. But I remember thinking, like, man, this guy's pretty smooth. Like, he's pretty slick. And then you hear all this stuff about him and how awesome he is. And then all of a sudden, WWE is just, like, done with him. And it's like, oh, wow, that seems weird. He seemed like a guy who's really trending upwards. So, I mean, like, picturing all the scenarios that you can put him in AEW, whether it's a feud with Cody, whether it's a feud with Moxley.
Jericho,
Omega. There's so many different ways to position this guy, and if he can work half as well as the hype says he can work, man, it's going to be quite something.
Well, he can. I know that much because I mean, if you've seen his work in NXT and even as La Sombra, which I have not seen him as La Sombra, so but you hear really, really good things about that. So, Steven Chambers says Andrade should do all right in AEW. Did he wrestle Omega for the AEW, the AAA title?
Not yet, right?
I don't think so. I don't think that came up yet, but that's on tap. So it was interesting because, like, yeah, they were promoting that like crazy, and everybody's like, "Oh, Andrade, maybe we'll see him in AEW." I just did not expect to see him specifically last night on AEW. So I don't.
By the way, Nesha had a correction for me. She said first thought was that Chavo was going to be the one coming out. Oh, she wasn't thinking Andrade. Which kind of brings me back to my point, though. Like, I think it'd be really cool to pair him with somebody like Chavo, or what about? Oh my God, why is his name escaping me? The guy who bites apples and spits them.
Oh, Carlito.
Carlito came out looking like $1 million at the Royal Rumble. I don't know, man. I think that it could be fun to form a little group like that and have these people come out and say, like, we're taking over this promotion.
You know what? NXT has Delgado Del Fantasma, and then there's another faction too. Well, yeah, then you think about MLW, they have Azteca Underground and certain things like that. I think Andrade should be a singles act, and I think they should kind of leave it at that. And so Vicky as, like, his manager, I think is totally fine. But, like, listen, even the fact that he's not, like, super, super, like, fluid and smooth with English, I think that can still be beneficial. I think you really need to hammer the Ric Flair home, the Crockett Promotions Ric Flair home, where he's just sharp dressed, over the top a little bit,
arrogant,
all that kind of thing. Really lean into that, and don't have like all those other, like having those other guys, veterans. Like I like Chavo, and Carlito's good for what he is too. But I think it really it would just muddy the waters, so to speak. I think this is a good way to really make the most of Andrade. And moving forward, like, dude, I would just put a rocket underneath him and just go, man. Just go.
I mean, I see value in what you're saying and in the idea of pairing him with some veteran talent. You know, either way, you really can't go wrong. Here's something that can't go wrong. How about Andrade versus Penta? DJ is saying, "Oof,
oh yeah,
come on."
That's an easy one. I was listening to the Meltzer's show, and they were talking about like if they were kind of saying maybe he like loses a little something by not having the La Sombra mask on. I kind of disagree, because like Andrade's is a good looking dude. And not only that, but like that does separate him from the Lucha Brothers, who have their own specific identity and stuff like that. While as if you were to have him underneath the mask, I don't think it would be making the fullest of Andrade at this moment. So I think, I very much, you want that Latino Hispanic, that Latino Ric Flair. That's what you're looking for here, I think.
Ooh, Dominic, how about Zelina Vega getting involved?
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is like, she's still a free agent. Aleister Black, who I'm sure we're going to be talking about soon, is released from WWE. So I don't think, I mean, there was reports of her being at the Performance Center like a couple weeks ago, but listen, we haven't seen her or anything to that point. And now that like Aleister Black is released, her fiance, or maybe it's her husband now at this point. I think it might be her husband, but either way, she's not. I don't think she's going to be really committed to WWE, maybe. So I mean, I was kind of surprised, like, because her and Andrade together were just a powerhouse couple, basically a powerhouse tandem, I guess is a better way to put it. So yeah, now with Vicky being in the mix, it's going to be interesting, because like I like Vicky, and but like I don't want her to go over the top with the excuse me stuff. I think when she first debuted in AEW, we kind of mentioned that, like how, you know, I think she's got a lot more to offer than that catchfphrase. And
yeah,
so,
I agree.
I'd like to see it, just a good balance of that happening. You know, I'm pretty excited for Andrade. I think it's a great signing. And, you know, people are saying, oh, you can't sign all this WWE talent and can't do it. Listen,
why?
Like, and look at it this way too, Marcus. How much have we seen of Paul White since he's been signed?
Not much, but it doesn't matter.
Exactly. But like, that's to my point, though, Marcus, is like not only that, and people are saying the same. Well, Mark Henry, why are you spending this money on Mark Henry? Mark Henry is not just going to be an analyst. Mark Henry probably isn't going to wrestle a whole lot. Mark Henry is going to be a great addition to the backstage help too, in regards to like positioning these guys and gals and giving them knowledge. Like it's like Tony Schiavone said on What Happened When with Conrad, like he'd like to see a lot of the talent utilize the brains of like Tully Blanchard and stuff like that backstage more. And I think you're getting a lot of that, like Britt Baker, even. And when we did the press scrums afterwards, she talked to us about how much, you know, she got knowledge from all these different talents, including like veterans and current stars too, like Ricky Starks and stuff. So it's like, they're going to be multifaceted and they're not always going to be on the television. It's just like, but with guys, younger guys, underutilized guys like Andrade and Aleister Black, who we're sure we're going to talk about, is like, why not sign those guys? Because they're good. They're really, really good.
Anybody who's like calling it WWE light or whatever, it's like, if you guys had been, if Twitter had existed during the territory days, I can't even begin to imagine all that kind of bullshit that would be going on. I mean, like, guys were going all over every promotion. Was WWE AWA light then? Back in the day,
right?
You know, it's the nature of the wrestling business. Everybody needs to just cool it with that stupid narrative. I'll tell you what, Dominic, another Vega I wouldn't mind seeing out there. Savio Vega, friend of the show.
Oh, friend of the show. Well, he's back with MLW, so
yeah, okay, too late for that. Let's move ahead though, Dom. I mean, you touched on it, so why don't we just get there? And you know, we've got Richard already asking the question about it. Braun Strowman, will he join AEW? Dominic, there are a lot of releases in WWE. Yes. So let's let's talk about it. Who would you like to see in AEW? Who do you think wouldn't really present a lot of value? Well, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, yeah, I'm glad you presented it that way too, because honestly, 100%, like Tommy End, aka Aleister Black, should be number one on their list.
Yep.
Marcus, I know you weren't too into NXT like when he was in NXT, but I think I probably mentioned to you how much I like.
You got me to watch some of his stuff. Specifically because you liked him so much.
Yes.
So I went out of my way and watched some of his stuff in NXT, and he's awesome.
Dude, like that, just the presentation that they had for him, his music at the time was awesome. And then just like such a unique ass kicking individual. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, this guy's dark and like I don't know shit about him, but like he's an ass kicker, and like just that air of mystery that he had. You don't get that with a lot of stars nowadays. And then WWE just fucked it all up when they called him up to the main roster. They didn't take it. Same with Andrade, you know? It's just like two really, really good, talented stars that they did not make the most of. And, you know, Aleister Black getting released, it's just like, it is a kind of a shocker because, you know, what the hell, man? Like, it's such a talent that everybody else can see, but Vince McMahon can't.
Yeah, I don't know how he missed on him. I don't know why Vince McMahon would put so much equity into somebody like Braun Strowman and then just say, "Okay, we're done," and just like walk away from him. Like, I'm not saying that Braun Strowman is like, you know, some unbelievable talent, but the fact that Vince McMahon gave him so much TV time, he gave him so much merchandising, like he put so much into Braun Strowman, and then he's just like, "Get out of here!" Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, you're done. Like,
right. So, like, do I think that Braun Strowman would necessarily be a good fit in AEW? Not necessarily. Maybe not.
No, I agree, Marcus.
But
I don't think so.
But the fact that he's got so much equity makes him a natural fit. By that, I mean, he's been on national television for so long. He has been a borderline household name, I think you could say, with the amount of exposure that he's had. So to not bring that guy in, so that people who are flipping through channels see this guy who they recognize on your TV, it might be a miss by AEW to not bring somebody like that in.
I mean, there is a point to that. I mean, like from a merchandising standpoint, and when you're getting like, you know, if you want to attract a new audience, people will know who Braun Strowman is. Kids will know who Braun Strowman is. Now, there's topics of how he's handled himself behind the scenes, like when it comes to, I remember him making comments about something happening where it would be like he was disparaging independent wrestlers from not being able to get work or something like that at that point during the pandemic.
I remember
that effect. I don't know if you know the specifics. I can't really recall the specifics about it, but he said stuff that really kind of got him in some like hot water amongst the wrestling world, I think.
I don't put a lot of stock into that. You know, with today's cancel culture, some of it is warranted, some of it is not. And so I don't know. I think anything can be twisted around, taken out of context, especially when said by somebody who's a celebrity.
You know what? What's tough though is like Braun Strowman is like how they got a lot of big men. You know what I mean? Like they have guys like Lance Archer. Hold on, I'm getting Dusty out. He's eating some weird stuff. Hey.
Dom's cat, Dusty. I think that Dominic makes a good point though. He's saying that they've already got like a lot of big guys over there, and with a guy this size of Braun Strowman, you bump into the old giant in WCW issue that Eric Bischoff has described so many times on 83 Weeks with Conrad Thompson, where Bischoff said, "I didn't really know what to do with the giant because like you've kind of only got a couple notes that you can play on that piano, right? Where it's just like, here's the big guy and you can't bring him down. Here's the big guy. Holy smokes, you've defeated him. What else do you do with him?" You know what I mean? So I think that Braun Strowman would present a similar issue if brought into AEW. But that being said, I believe in this is more me. You know, I'm a marketing coordinator in my professional life. This is more me saying like a guy with that much equity to his name, a guy with that much household recognition, borderline silly to not bring him in.
Yeah, I just don't. Where are you going to put him? And like you have guys with personality like a Lance Archer and another big man. Like you can categorize Miro in that almost, you know, as a big man in a way. Categorize, I'd certainly put like Nick Comoroto in there, who's like such a unique look. And, you know, Braun Strowman, we've seen what he can do. And I just don't know what kind of tangibility there is with it. Now, could you maybe bring him in for a little bit? Almost like, okay, you want to like like almost like a condensed version of an Andre the Giant, where like you bring Andre the Giant, he comes to a territory and he really makes some waves. Bring him in almost like you did a Zack Ryder. Remember that with Cardona? He came in for like 5 appearances in AEW, and then he was kind of done. So give him like a trial.
Yeah,
give him a trial and see how he does. And then if it just doesn't work out, boom. Okay, maybe we'll bring you back again. But right now we just don't have anything at the moment.
Nesha is saying Lana's going to go to AEW. Here's something interesting by DJ. He says, I think Aleister Black could be the new Brody Lee of the Dark Order. And so I was thinking that too initially, but then I saw, and I can't remember who said
John
it.
Silver, I think.
No. Well, yeah, John Silver said that, but I'm not referencing that. John Silver said, we don't need another leader. Brody
We had
Lee.
our leader.
Yeah, Brody Lee was the one. But I saw somebody else say, you know who Aleister Black would go really good with is the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. And it's like, holy smokes, yes, he would.
That's pretty darn good, because
that would be a fun faction, and it would finally help to, I think, push Butcher and Blade over the edge and get them over.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point, Marcus, because I didn't even see that one. I saw Darby and Sting, him pairing with Darby almost. That would be kind of cool, though, too.
That's another way to go.
Yeah.
As far as Braun Strowman is concerned, you're right. He presents an issue due to his size, and like, okay, where exactly do you put him? I think he would probably go over in an instant feud against Lance Archer.
I just would not like that at all.
Here's what you do with him, in my opinion. We were talking last week about pushing Miro to the moon and basically having him like a Goldberg sort of a character where he's just like a freight train that nobody can stop. How about, okay, 1 week he's got a surprise opponent, bring in Braun Strowman and have Miro beat him.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, that's kind of the thing, though, to your point, Marcus. I mean, you could utilize that. That would be like, if you bring him in and he loses to Miro, then you kind of like burnt that flame real quick.
Sure.
If you think there's cachet in utilizing someone like Braun Strowman over the course of time, then you necessarily wouldn't want to do that.
Well, that's another way that you could use that equity, though, isn't it? Where you can say, like, hey, here's this guy. You all know who he is. Big star, tons of merchandise. And Miro just beat him on Dynamite. So it's like that could be let's strap the rocket ship to Miro. Then. Yeah,
but that's AEW then committing to like, okay, we don't want anything to do with Braun.
Yeah, if you do that, you're saying I'm done. We aren't really interested in Braun Strowman.
That's what I mean. Yeah, because if you do see some equity in Braun utilizing him more throughout the course of time, then like you necessarily wouldn't want to do that. I do get what you're saying. I just don't know. It's just if I would kind of maybe go the Matt Cardona route. That's what I would do with Braun right now. I would not sign him by any means. I would give him like a little trial, see how he does, and hell, keep him strong, like, but then send him off for a little bit if it's not like, because I mean, you guys, like, I would not want to see him like beat somebody like a Lance Archer who like had AEW invested into his time. Like that's time invested into him, where it's just like, he lost to Miro, and I think there's more to come from Archer because like what's always cool is like that story of, when like Marcus, we like Max Payne and stuff like that. Like Max Payne 3, he shaves his head, and that's like a new version of him. Like it's a what is it when they call it
reincarnation?
Yeah. So and like look at what Lance Archer did. If you saw that on social media, he cut his hair. Like I haven't seen what he looks like since, and we haven't seen him on Dynamite either. But I mean, there's some intrigue there. So.
Dom DJ has asked, do you see Nyla Rose leaving Vicky Guerrero's stable after a cheeseburger tantrum? Let's move on to the Britt Baker segment. What was the deal with the cheeseburgers?
I think it was like a comedy thing. I think she was really leaning into like, I don't know if this had anything to do with it, but I remember how Trump did the ridiculous thing of buying the Super Bowl people, like the winners of the Super Bowl, like a couple of years ago, like McDonald's. Wow. Like you don't remember that at the White House? It was just like an overall huge platter of McDonald's instead of like steak or some shit like that.
These are professional athletes who can buy whatever meal they want. It's like, hey, here's some garbage I'd buy for a 6-year-old.
Yeah, food you can get in any town you want.
Yeah. She's saying McDonald's gave her 1,500 Big Macs. I missed that.
Well, like burger coupons. She didn't say Whopper or she didn't say Big Mac. It was just burger coupons. So I think maybe she was playing with that a little bit. But you know what? I just think it was kind of like a red herring giveaway almost, because earlier in the evening, Inner Circle gave away free T-shirts. She's pretending she's going to give away free burger coupons. And here, no, you don't deserve it. I earned all this. And I think it was a good way to kind of establish her heelness still. Because, like, I mean, I think it was hard to position Britt, as like to someone elicit booze over the course of Double or Nothing and even on Friday, because people really wanted her to win, like, the title, I think. And so I think there was a lot of like groundswell behind her. And so, I think this was kind of a good way to get her heelness back. But I don't know. It kind of like fell flat a little bit at the end, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was a great promo necessarily. Like, I think it was fine. It wasn't like a Dusty Rhodes promo or anything, but it was okay. But like it kind of like the end was just like head scratch, where it's just like Nyla Rose, this big beast of a woman. She's just like, she's gonna throw, as DJ put it, a burger tantrum, and then she's like slapping balloons and popping balloons. It's just like, is that supposed to be scary? What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
I do like the idea that we're moving on to what appears to be Britt Baker and Nyla Rose, because I think Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa is kind of like this inevitable thing. It's going to happen, but spend the time building both ladies up first, right?
Yeah.
Let's get Rosa the NWA Women's Championship. We'll let Baker get some wins under her belt as champion, and then just kind of have these two slowly building their way back to each other for a rematch.
Yeah, whether that's like All Out or further down the line, even.
Sure. I don't care if it's a year later, but build it up where it's this champion versus champion collision.
Right. No, I'm game for that too, man. I think that's the way to do it.
Dominic, what did you think of Britt Baker's very Scott Hall jacket, where it's like black with like the red blood dripping down the sleeves? I was like, hey, how about that?
I didn't even notice that. I noticed that on Jericho, where he had kind of blood dripping down.
Yeah, what's going on here tonight?
Everybody's digging the Scott Hall, man.
Yeah,
everybody's digging Scott Hall. Keep going. I got to get Dusty out of here again.
All right. Well, I'm seeing a couple questions here. Seems like they're geared toward Dom, but I'll answer one or two of them here. We've got Anthony asking Dom, if Braun Strowman didn't say that he wouldn't wrestle for another company except for WWE, what company do you guys see him wrestling for, AEW or Impact? What would you do in his debut? I think that's all just silliness by Braun Strowman, where he's just like, he works for WWE at the time or whatever, and he's like, I'll never work for another this is it. This is the company. But I mean, let's face it. If Brock Lesnar got a big enough payday, he would go to Impact. You know what I mean? These guys don't care. They just want the money. So
now, some of the talent though find WWE to be the be all end all, where it's like,
and why? There were just zombies on that fucking program.
Marcus, you think about it though, like a lot of these guys now are younger than we are, so they didn't grow up like into WCW, and like there was another like company you could really tie yourself to. It was just the one and only was WWE, with Impact like a pretty far distance behind in a lot of ways, so it's like and like if that's what you're used to, some of these talents are going to be like, okay, well, my dream was to be at WrestleMania and achieve that and like get that and then be a star in WWE, and if that gets taken away, then okay, I'm done. You see that happen with some guys, like they like, I mean, I'm trying to think of some other talent. I mean, I don't think this is a good example because I'm sure maybe Joe Henning's still interested, but Joe Henning's not doing anything right now, where it's like, maybe that was it, and then they'll make a career adjustment where they move on. Or you look at somebody like a Ted DiBiase Jr. who moved on, not necessarily like maybe he just wasn't into wrestling as much or anything like that. But there's some of those talents out there that are like, oh man, WWE was my dream, and now I don't have that anymore. I don't know if that's necessarily with Braun, but like, I don't necessarily think either. Maybe Braun's really warmed himself up to a whole lot of other promotions either necessarily too.
Dominic Anthony also asked you, Dom, do you guys think they're setting up the Death Triangle joining forces with Wild Things as a stable?
Not as a stable, just like a loose alliance, I would say. Eddie has some history with Death Triangle, obviously. So, and they showed tension there and everything. But I think it's going to be a loose alliance. Like, obviously, John Moxley's having a baby with Renee. And so he's going to go away. And like they kind of announced he's kind of out indefinitely too because of what the Young Bucks did to him. So I think they want to further a little bit more of the story between Eddie and the Young Bucks and him feuding with the Elite. I mean, because you got to look at it, like Eddie was super over at the pay-per-view. Like he was getting chants like crazy. And then, so I think positioning him against some of your top heels like the Young Bucks is the right thing to do too, and keep furthering that. Plus, you have talents like Pac and Penta. Gee, why not?
Yeah. And as far as I'm concerned, it's. I lost my train of thought. Let's hammer on. Dominic DJ just said, I really enjoyed. I'm glad he's actually transitioning us. This is what distracted me from the point I was going to make. I was reading what DJ wrote here. I really enjoyed the tag title match. I honestly thought that Pac and Penta were going to take the titles off the Elite. So let's jump into that opener, Dominic. I personally felt that the opener sucked. What did you think?
I liked the opener. I don't think it sucked. I did take some exception with some of it though, because and I think you're probably on the same page with this if you noticed it, was I really like the Bucks as heels. And I've said that week in and week out. I think they're doing a great job. I like Nick Jackson's over the top Auburn hair, very heelish, all that kind of thing. And I like what they do overall as heels. But one thing I did not like is when Matt's down and being beat up by Pac, he's playing a little bit too much to the camera. I don't know if you noticed that, where it's just
that's the kind of stuff that upsets me. That's the kind of stuff that upsets me. And I do like them as heels. Nesha's saying she doesn't like them as heels. I do. I like them as heels, but I feel like that match in particular, there was great athleticism, but just zero psychology. And what psychology they tried to implement is nonsensical. They had that moment on the apron where it's two opponents with each other's guys, and they look at each other and then they execute the move. It's that's not wrestling as I knew it. You know what I mean? Where it's you're looking at your opponent who's about to hurt your tag team partner, and you're like, yeah, screw it, and you just do your own thing.
Shove that guy off that you're about to.
Right, you'd go save your partner, and
your brother, let alone your brother.
And if this is a shoot, and you and I were tag team partners, and you did that to me after the match, I'd be like, why didn't you save me, you asshole? Yeah,
you fucking dickhead.
Yeah, dude could have broke my neck. He gave me a damn pile driver on the apron.
What the hell?
But yeah, I mean, to say it sucked, I was kind of painting with a broad brushstroke there. But I think that Pac is one of the best wrestlers in the industry. I think that the Young Bucks are really good as heels. I think that Penta is a lot of fun. I just think
Marcus, I wanted to get when I saw when I was at Double or Nothing and Penta came out with that Joker outfit, I was like, dude, I wonder what Marcus thinks of that. So what are your thoughts on that?
It's 2008 was a while ago when that movie came out, Batman with the Joker, Heath Ledger and all that. But it's just been so overdone to this point that I'm just yeah, whatever. Rey Mysterio has done it before. Yeah. We've seen it plenty
of times. Does Penta, did he come out like Venom a couple times, or was that?
Yeah, I think he did.
I know El Hijo de la Park did some Venom / Maximum Carnage stuff, which was pretty cool in MLW. He would come out dressed like that, which is kind of neat.
Anthony thought that the pile driver was banned because it's unsafe. Was that just people talking crap? No, I think that certain promotions banned the pile driver. I know the WWE banned it for a while.
I think that's it. Was WWE banned that?
Right. So, it's not interpromotional. It's just it's basically any company, they have their own guidelines, just you working for a company or me working for a company. There's different rules.
And that's his finisher, is that package pile driver.
Right. And look, the pile driver's safe if it's done properly. You're supposed to squeeze your thighs together so the guy's head doesn't even come near the ground.
Yeah.
But so if you do it right, it's perfectly safe.
Yeah. We've brother fought before plenty of times.
And I have whooped that ass.
Marcus, I Eddie Kingston you the one time.
Right, but you didn't take me down, Dom. You just gave me a black eye.
You kind of wept a little bit, I know.
Okay. Dominic, Nick is asking, is WWE for sale? Curious if it is. I hope Tony Khan buys it. I don't think it's for sale. I keep hearing that.
Well,
I keep hearing that. But look, every year after WrestleMania, or every year around this time, they just like. I think that they sit. This is probably like their what do they call it? Their fiscal year end or something. So they sit down every year around this time and they take a look at the budget and they say like, okay, how can we save money? Who can we do with? Who can we do without? And then they just make decisions. So I think their fiscal year ended recently, and they're just restructuring their budget.
Now there is a little bit more talk about WWE selling, like Disney and stuff, because there's an article I think. Somebody. Oh man, I should look. Oh, I guess this is not a WWE show, so I don't necessarily have to do this. Like, I think somebody, a prominent from ESPN, Jamie Horowitz, was a big wig with ESPN, and then did
Barry Horowitz.
Barry, I know, that's who I thought too when I heard the name. But like, he's working with WWE now, but he also was fired from ESPN due to sexual harassment allegations and stuff.
That's not great.
Not good stuff. But like, the guy was a big wig, like a real big name in ESPN and that broadcast. And so then you have Nick Khan too, who has past sports business experience too. So like, that's kind of a very weird dynamic with WWE, particularly because they are the least pro wrestling company out of all the pro wrestling companies is WWE. So to have them really tie themselves to sports and business ties, I would think it would be refreshing and positive, but you got to think of who's in charge here is Vince McMahon, who has no knowledge, very little knowledge of sports, and very little. It's all entertainment and all things like that. I could see that kind of getting a little rocky down the road here. Now, Nick Khan is making some good moves, but listen, I wouldn't be shocked if WWE was sold to something like an entity like Disney or something like that. I would not be shocked. But, they do usually do this with releases, but it does seem a little bit more than usual too this time around. And at different times. So
yeah, what's happening here is the same thing that happened when Eric Bischoff was put in charge of WCW. All of a sudden, he took a look at what was going on with WCW, and he was like, "Okay, here's what we need to do. No more house shows. We're losing money on house shows. It's stupid to continue them, so we cut out house shows." So it's like it's just a new guy with a new philosophy who's come into power in WWE, and so he's probably sitting down with creative and saying, "What are your plans for this guy? Oh, you got nothing? Out. We're done with him."
I mean. They do have the NBC ties, NBC Universal and stuff, and they need a product too now with NHL kind of like traveling over to TNT and, going to other properties under NBC. So, I mean, I could definitely see NBC trying to scoop it up and things like that.
Dude, I'm going out on a limb. Vince McMahon is never going to relinquish control of WWE. It's never going to happen.
You do got to think too, what's Vince's plan after WWE? I'm sure he's not once R&R. Like, that's not.
Yeah. Do you see Vince McMahon ever just stopping and relaxing? He's never going to. Not based on anything I've ever heard about him. So, no, I think WWE is going to stay exactly the way it is. We'll probably see some merchandising shakeups. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more releases. Who knows? They might cut out house shows. Who knows? I mean, obviously they haven't been able to with COVID, but it's a money saving tactic.
Now, yeah, I mean, they're bringing house shows back though right now too.
All right, so I mean,
it's going to get limited though. It's never going to be the same as it was before.
Right. Dominic, what? Oh, sorry. What?
John Udovich says, Kazarian out of nowhere attacking Nakazawa was great. I'm really hoping that they do a lot with this Kaz storyline where he becomes a huge like thorn in the side of the Elite. And like
Kaz is like WCW Sting hanging in the rafters now. Is coming after targeting people.
I think Marcus, that's a great point. I've been comparing him to Max Payne these past couple of weeks, but Sting's a great point. Like, I think they should kind of make him more like that. I think that'd be really cool.
Could be neat. I wouldn't mind seeing him do some more with Christian, maybe his comrades this time around.
Yeah, and like just kind of Kaz gets a little darker, and like Kaz is a big guy that's into heavy metal and stuff like that. I think you can kind of lean into that a little bit and make it a little bit more of his style and stuff, and make him stand out a little bit more too.
Ooh, Britt, bring him back as Suicide. I wouldn't hate it.
Well, I mean, that is an Impact entity. I mean, they've been doing Suicide still in Impact.
Like, yeah, and plus, I don't know if the name Suicide is good for network television.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I just brought up Christian. Screw it. Let's talk about it. Jungle Boy and Christian Dominic tag teaming against Private Party. Dude, Jungle Boy and Christian are just made for each other. Like, who is better to teach Jack Perry than Christian, who after 7 years is still one of the most technically sound people on the entire roster? I think that Christian's experience could help Jungle Jack Perry turn into a star. I think he needs to drop the Jungle Boy shtick and be Jungle Jack.
JR calls him all the time.
Yes. So I think he's got to get rid of the Jungle Boy thing because he's growing into a full-grown man. So that should stop. But man, great match, well worked. You know, I think that Private Party kind of got some of their stuff in, which hindered the match a little bit because they've just got very different styles and philosophies. But I mean, as far as everything that Christian and Jungle Boy did in that match, it was money.
Yeah, I thought it was I thought it was the highlight of the show. Honestly, was them pairing up and kind of just furthering Jungle Boy's story because, dude, what a finish! I know you didn't get to see Double or Nothing, but awesome finish to that battle royal where it's down to him and Christian and like them going back and forth because it's like it's kind of neat that. And I mentioned this to Jungle Boy during the press stuff afterwards. Was like it's neat that battle royal is becoming his repertoire kind of thing. Like that's his thing almost. Is he's becoming the man to do it all. And so I think they've been really planning, and Tony Khan mentioned this too, was that like they've been planning to make this Jungle Boys moment, but the pandemic kind of got in the way. And so now they're getting that opportunity and they're really pushing them. And it's good to see because like we mentioned like how many, WWE stars are coming in and people are like, oh, they don't need them and stuff like that. To a point, they're kind of right, but it's also like they're established. It's not like they're not establishing new stars. You have Darby Allin, you have Jungle Boy, you have Sammy Guevara, you have Andrade can be their own entity here at Cena Point. You have Hangman Page. Like these are your own talents that you're looking to cultivate into bigger stars and stuff like that. So it's not like they're dismissing them in favor of guys they're bringing in from WWE. It's like there's a balance to it, and I think they're hitting that balance okay for right now. And
you win it the same way. And again, I'll reference WCW because it's my thing. You win.
What show do you do, Marcus?
You win it the same way the WCW won the Monday Night Wars for 83 weeks, and that's by utilizing in-house talent such as Goldberg, DDP, Sting, but then also pairing them with talent that came over from WWF, like Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage. So it's kind of pairing the two because you give people basically these fantasy matchups that they've been thinking about. Like who has not just considered the idea of having somebody like Cesaro come over and wrestle Omega? Everybody would like to see that, but would there be some people who would criticize Cesaro coming over and say, "Oh, it's another WWE guy"? Of course, but it's silliness. So I think people need to push past that and just enjoy the fact that we're getting to see we're going to get to see some fantasy matchups here.
Yeah, and it's like people just like to bitch. Like that's kind of the thing. Is like that's what we know as like wrestling Twitter and stuff like that. Is people are gonna bitch, and like you give them a platform to do it, it's gonna happen. So it's
Dominic, sorry to interrupt you. Steven Chambers took the words right out of my mouth to quote Meatloaf. He said, "Omega versus Jungle Boy June 26th will be a great match, but not his time. Omega should win." But Jungle Boy is the future of AEW. Exactly. Jungle Boy should not go over. I get it. He's getting major pops. Everybody loves him. His music is catchy. He looks cool.
Yeah.
I get it. But
I'd like to see him get a TNT title run at some point. Like
sure.
If somebody's to unseat Miro, I'd like Jungle Boy to be the one to do that.
Like I said, I think Miro should hold that title for at least a year, maybe 2 years. It would just unbeatable. But then how much would it mean for a talent like Jungle Boy to finally be the one that beats him?
Yeah. Marcus, I did a poll this morning. I don't know if you saw it or not. But I said, running a 2 Dynamite Dudes pool for today. Which of the following AEW stars would you prefer to see unseat Kenny Omega? Would it be Jungle Boy, Hangman Page, Darby Allin, or Andrade? Marcus, who would you pick out of those four?
I selected Hangman Page.
Oh, you did select.
Okay. Just like Nesha here did. She said Page beats Kenny, but when? I'm guessing that Page won because he was winning pretty handily whenever I voted.
Yeah. Yeah. So the poll results, I was pretty surprised by this. People really got behind Hangman Page. He's like dominated with it. Out of 158 votes, he won like 56% of the votes. And a distant second was Andrade. Third was Darby. And then fourth was Jungle Boy. So
I think the thing with Page is, so Kenny's like, he's a pretty big, muscly dude. And you see a guy like Hangman Page, got a good look. He's a big guy himself. He's over. He's got cool moves. He's athletic. It's like, to me, it's a layup to make him the face of the company. I think it's easy. So I think it's the way to go. James, thank you for plugging our respective Twitters. We'll hit this real quick. You can follow me at Marcus P. D'Angelo on Twitter. Follow Dominic at Dominic D'Angelo on Twitter. Follow this podcast, Two Dynamite Dudes with Attitude, at Two Dynamite Dudes. Follow our other podcasts, WCW Rewritten, where I completely rewrite WCW starting from Starrcade 1997. You can follow that at WCW Rewritten. And
coming back tomorrow. Returning tomorrow.
Yes, illustrious return after 2 weeks off. And follow WrestleZone.com at WrestleZone.com. Go to WrestleZone.com for all your wrestling news needs. Dominic, Max Bergen, hi. Dominic, go ahead.
It's kind of tough for me to think who should unseat Kenny. I don't think there's a wrong answer there necessarily. Like, I think I'm more with you guys with the fact that like Jungle Boy he shouldn't. Well, I don't think he should beat Kenny at this juncture. Now, if I would have liked to kind of seen it like Jungle Boy wins this battle royal and he has a shot down the road. Now, if it was further down the road, I could be more for Jungle Boy pulling the upset and beating Kenny. But like now that it's happening so soon, I just think Kenny needs a really good extended run with the belt right now. But this is what I would like, Marcus, and tell me how you feel about this. If Jungle Boy in his match was the one to kick out of the one-winged angel.
Boy, that would be something. And again, it would mean something for Jungle Boy.
Right.
That being said, I really like that the one-winged angel is a very protected finisher.
Now it can still be protected, but what if Jungle Boy was just the one and only person to have kicked out of it, and Kenny still beats him, but that sticks in Kenny's craw for later down the road? You know,
I think it could tell an interesting story for sure. But yeah, it's, as we've been mentioning, and I see other people mentioning here, it's not time for Jungle Boy yet. He is the future of the company, 100%.
Marcus, when does Page beat Kenny if he's the one to beat Kenny?
I would say I don't know which pay-per-view specifically because I don't know the order of the pay-per-views
yet. Okay, so 9th Labor Day weekend is the next one, All Out. So that'd be in September, beginning of September. Then in November is Full Gear. I think that's November.
I know my answer already, Dominic. I think September is a good period of time. And All Out is a pretty well-known pay-per-view for them. So is that a
long enough run for Kenny though?
Yep. He had plenty.
You think so? Okay.
I do.
Okay. All right. No, I was curious about that. So, all right. Let's see. Anything else we got here, Marcus? Sir?
James asked who is the MVP of the pay-per-view. Dominic, I have only seen clips of it, so I don't really know if I should weigh in. Dominic, why don't you tell James who is the MVP
of the pay-per-view?
Yeah.
Sting. I think Sting. Like coming back at 62 and what have you. I think it was just a really, really cool highlight. And him getting the W was pretty cool. And him doing what he did was cool in front of a live crowd. I just think, I think that was the big takeaway was that one. Now, I really like the three-way match between Kenny, Pac, and Orange Cassidy. I thought, that was such a great match. And they really highlighted Orange very, very well. And that's another guy that's still in the mix too, and that they kept, strong after the fact. I would say Sting's probably my MVP of Double or Nothing. It was just really neat to see live and just significant. And him pairing with Darby, I just love that pairing too. It's just they go very well together. Like it's very cool.
Well, you kind of brought it back, so I will ask this question that was posed by DJ. I think it was DJ who asked this question. I'm having a hard time.
Which one are you looking at?
Well, in any case, who should be Darby's tag team partners?
Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's DJ. Mm-hmm. That's the tough one, man. I'm trying to think who would tie in with him really well. Marcus, do you have any ideas?
Well, I think they're setting it up to be a debuting talent.
You think so?
Yep. Whether it's like long term or just like a one off, I don't know. But like just the fact that they're saying, well, no, not Sting, pick somebody else. I think that somebody else has got to be somebody who is going to pop the crowd. So yeah, it's I don't know who. I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head who blends in there. I'd love to be able to say Aleister Black, but I think there's a 90-day no compete.
Yeah, so that's not going to be.
So yeah, it's I have no idea.
I do think like I just kind of do have that like, you know, oh, they're going to introduce like, or it's just going to be somebody on it. You know who I think it is? I think it's going to be Lance Archer.
Oh yeah, that could be a lot of fun
because he has, he had those ties with Sting. Like Sting was putting him over big and stuff like that. So
that would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's a good choice, Dominic. Never mind. Forget about my crap with a debuting talent. Hey, by the way, Dominic, at Double or Nothing, there was a pay-per-view debut for a talent, and it's a talent that, by the way, Jim Cornette really, really put over, and that's Anthony Ogogo.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
Yes. So Anthony Ogogo was put over big by Cornette for his performance at the pay-per-view. And I gotta say, Dominic, Anthony Ogogo is money. I think
that's another new star. You know,
dude, he looks like $1 million. I see massive potential in him. And let me say, Dominic, he's like the bizarro Cody, like he's like the anti Cody, which is one of the things that I really like. He's even got like only his right hand taped like Cody does. Like, I just think
you're picking up some stuff.
Yeah. I just think he's like the perfect foe for Cody. I think they should do this for a few months, have another singles match and have Ogogo go over, and then like do a stipulation match. And like, let's just keep it going because like, I love Ogogo. I think he's got unbelievable ring skills. Jim Cornette was putting over the fact that he was a good wrestler. Like, he did a great job. The dude started in boxing and he came out and he's doing like frog splashes. He looks great. He was where he was supposed to be when he was supposed to be there. Like, I don't agree with Cornette on everything, but I do agree with Ogogo. And I think that guy is going to be a big star.
Something that that's kind of been talked about with AEW is like, oh, they're bringing in this talent that never has any in-ring experience, and that's not going to come off well. Like, what are they doing? Like, and that was the big talk about Jade Cargill, and that became some talk about Ogogo, and look at what happened. Like, they're
both awesome.
They positioned them in the right manner to succeed, and then they made the most of those what they could of what they were capable of doing at that point in time. So it's like, yeah, man, I like it. And I'm okay with like Cody did a good job at like complimenting him too in that match at Double or Nothing. And then what did you think of the follow-up here on Dynamite that you got to see?
Of what now?
Of Ogogo tagging with QT Marshall.
Oh, yeah, no, I thought it was fine. It's made sense, but it furthers the storyline. It's not just like a blow off like the Cody versus Penta thing where it was just like they were mad at each other for a week and then it's like, okay, that's done. So I like the fact that they're continuing it. I also, I was seeing last night on Twitter that people were like, wait a minute, Ogogo knocks Cody out with one punch here, but like he couldn't do it at the pay-per-view. And my rebuttal to that, I don't know if you saw this post on Twitter. That, yeah. But yeah, my rebuttal is like in a professional boxing match, like how many times have you seen a guy take a massive shot in actual boxing and he just keeps fighting?
Yeah.
It happens a lot. Sometimes you just don't catch somebody right.
Yeah, that's like MMA too. Like, you get caught.
Right. Exactly. and that's the thing that I really like about Ogogo is that like in theory he could end the match at any second. with this like punch of his, whether it's like the liver punch or the just catching him on the jaw and knocking the guy out. Like that's one of the things that I think is really cool and exciting about him and makes him a fun heel, because it's like, look, this dude is cocky, he's a douchebag, but like he might wreck your shit any moment here in this match.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's a lot of fun to have a guy like that, especially pairing him with a guy like Cody, who's like the best baby face in the business.
And you look back a couple weeks ago too, and you know, look at him going against Austin Gunn. Like he gave Austin Gunn 3 shots, you know, three big hits. And that last one was like Cesaro-esque, where he popped him up and then shot him. Like it was good shit.
Yep. So and even Steven Chambers, he's saying AEW took a big gamble on him, despite his losing 75% of his vision in one of his eyes. Yeah, and you know, think about how much that affects depth perception to only be using one eye, basically. And the dude's a great athlete. He's coming out there doing frog splashes. He's in the spots he's supposed to be in when he's supposed to be in them. Obviously, guys like Cody who have more experience and QT Marshall who has more experience. It's obvious that they're leading him through the matches. But there's plenty of people who get led through matches by talented superstars who still can't get where they're supposed to be. So Ogogo is already ahead of the game, man.
And you know, yeah, it's you know, and his capability on the microphone's there, and him getting across a personality that people that's tangible. It's he's already showing signs. It's like, give it time. There's nothing wrong. That's what's great. That's one aspect I really, really like about wrestling is you have an established talent that knows what he's doing in the ring, and he or she's capable of positioning somebody that's not necessarily that good in a good, making them look good. I think that's one of the neat aspects of pro wrestling just in general. So you see that with the Ogogo. You also seen it, Marcus. I'm probably the DJ's opening it up here for the transition of the bull rope match here. So I think we very much saw that with Dustin Rhodes going up against somebody as new as Nick Camarado too. He says, why did they push Dustin to win the bull rope match last night? I think that was the most sensible thing to do at this point in time. Camarado is still very new. Dustin is a veteran star, and he's done plenty of things in AEW to get other talent over. I think you would just get diminishing returns if you just keep putting Dustin in the position of losing instead of having him win a big highlight match like this in the main event. You still make Dustin a viable competitor in AEW. Like, and
it doesn't hurt Camarado.
No,
he's losing to a veteran, and that's how JR painted it at the end of it. He was like, well, he got beat by a veteran, you know.
And Dustin has experience with bull rope matches.
Yes, I love the match. I love the selection of the two people. The two participants were perfect for it, and I love the fact that it had like this very old school wrestling vibe. I just thought it was good. I thought the finish was fine. Like, was this Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels? Nope. But it was a fun match. It was a good main event. So I didn't see anything wrong with it. And yeah, the right guy went over. Nick Camarado, I think he's got a very, very bright future in AEW, but it's like, yeah, let him get there, you know.
And the loss made sense. Like Dustin hit him with the top rope bulldog and then hog-tied him for the pin. You know?
Right. So it's like, yeah, this guy's got more experience. He knows how to manipulate the rope better. So he beat Nick Camarado, who's basically a rookie in the business.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't see anything wrong with it. I thought it was a good match. Nice way to close out the program.
Yeah. Max, you asked real quick, are we on Twitch? Yes, we are, but we're not on Twitch at this moment because we only have 3 channels that we can go through right now. So we go through YouTube, we go through Facebook, and then we go through Twitter right now. So Periscope or whatever the hell it's called on Twitter. So those are the 3 that we broadcast through, but we are available on Twitch. I'm sure maybe you can see these on there if you go later on. I'm not positive about that, but we are capable of being on Twitch. We're just not on Twitch right now. So
James is agreeing with us. People need to earn their stripes. It's exactly it. I think that Nick Camarado, he's got plenty of time. Didn't hurt him to take a loss to Dustin. Everything's going to be fine with him.
And not only that, but the factory got a win earlier tonight with the Ogogo and QT. So whether that was underhanded or not, they still got the win. So
this should be the Nightmare family and the factory kind of exchanging blows here,
going back and forth. You know, it's cultivating more of a story. and everything like that. Marcus, we did touch upon Cody and stuff like that.
Right? Are you taking over the fucking podcast here? What's going on, you piece of shit?
Go
ahead. I don't care, dude. Go ahead.
What's next for Cody? What do you want to see happen with him?
I want to see him continue to feud with Anthony Ogogo. I think that the two bring out a lot in each other. I like this whole similar weight, similar size, different backgrounds thing. Where it's just like, okay, who's the harder man? Like one of them used to be a boxer, one of them is a son of a plumber. I think that it's a cool angle, and I think that when Cody goes away for the birth of his baby, it should be Ogogo who's making him go away. So I think Ogogo should completely clean his clock, knock him out, stretcher job, you know what I mean? And Cody goes away for a while to be with his newborn baby, and because it gets Ogogo over, and then have him go on a tear, have him start ripping through the AEW roster, and then when Cody comes back, he's coming back against a guy who's got more experience. Have
him just kind of tear apart some of the Nightmare family, and go like that.
Let him knock Dustin out for a week or two. It's it just completely ripped through the Nightmare family, and just there's QT Marshall in the background, kind of rubbing his hands together, see, this is my guy.
And fans are stewing because they know QT can't handle that stuff.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'd like to see it go. Dominic, I also wanted to mention though, we're an hour in, so I want to hit on maybe two more topics, then we can answer a few more questions and call it quits. Chris Jericho in the Inner Circle, nice promo, nice Scott Hall vests. And I what I liked most about this, now look, it was a good promo. It was nothing crazy, nothing special, but what I really liked about it was that it continues to further storylines. Long-term rivalries are ultimately good for the business. Mm-hmm. They used to say back in the day, the 80s, it's guys will talk about, let's say Hulk Hogan talking about working Macho Man Randy Savage. He'll be like, yeah, me and Savage worked each other for 8 months, house shows, pay-per-views, we probably had 2,000 matches, whatever crazy number they come up with. And it's that's what the business is supposed to be. Right. Is you're supposed to have long-term rivalries. You're supposed to continue to build and go back and forth, and the baby faces going over at house shows, and then it gets a comeuppance on TV. It's just that's what the business is supposed to be, and I think that Tony Khan is kind of hitting the nail on the head.
Yeah, I always refer to, I remember when this was over 10 years ago, Scott Hall was on a show. I think it was PW Torch, maybe it was something else. But I remember getting a chance to call in. No, it wasn't PW Torch. It was a different show. But I remember getting a chance to call in and asking, the most typical fan question you can ask was something about the ladder match or something like that, And I remember him saying, "Well, we did a bunch of more better matches on house shows than we did on the pay-per-view."
Yeah, he was our WrestleMania match was good, but we did we had better ones just on the road.
On the road and stuff like that.
Working in high school gymnasiums, they were just putting on these clinics.
Yeah,
which is crazy to think. Those will never reach the light of day. Probably weren't even recorded. So it's there are these unbelievable matches that happen that we'll just never get an opportunity to see. And that's the way it should be with AEW. It's the way it should be in all wrestling. There needs to be 6-month storylines where the guys are wrestling the same guy, different combinations, tag matches, ultimately leading towards some kind of a gimmick match blow off.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go. Nesh's saying she's an 80s baby, and that's the wrestling she grew up on. Dominic and I were both born in the 80s, so we were more 90s wrestling kids. But 90s kids. If I remember right, Dominic, we had some Hulk Hogan stuff. I remember.
Oh, yeah, I
remember owning Ultimate Warrior marble at one point.
Yes, Big Boss Man marble we had.
Yes.
I did have the Hasbro Hulk Hogan. I remember I remember getting that figure as a kid. Where it was real pressing. We were definitely, we came on the cusp of that. Hulk Hogan didn't latch me in though to wrestling. I got away from it, and then Scott Hall is the one. Razor Ramon is the one that brought me back in.
Yep.
But yes, I think with the Inner Circle and Pinnacle, I think they're doing the right thing. Marcus, even now they're promoting Hager versus Wardlow in 2 weeks in an MMA fight. They're pairing these guys off finally, where it's we're getting these one-on-one matches instead of these faction fights. So you want to make this more of a more and more so a blood feud than what we've been getting, and there'll be time to tell these stories. I think there's still a story to be told with MJF taking Jericho out like for a long time, and like somebody like Sammy stepping up, or hell, like the work that Santana's been doing on the mic. It's like that guy's a star too. You know what I mean? So it's like there's some opportunities there to further the Pinnacle, further the inner circle as these new likable baby faces, and keeping it going like just by pairing them off in matches and stuff like that. 4 pay-per-views, 4 Dynamites, whether that, however it works, So yeah, I think it's good shit, man.
Yeah. Hey, Steven saying he feels old. He was born in 74. But earlier he said that Miro versus Evil Uno next week, squash match. I hope so. But I feel like it's a good transition to talking about Miro. Actually, before we get there, let's read what DJ said here. How long do you think it will be before Red Velvet gets a title shot after defeating the Bunny last night? I think that's the clear direction that they're moving in here. And I would guess that once Britt Baker defeats Nyla Rose, and she will defeat Nyla Rose, we might be looking at Red Velvet taking on Britt Baker. So I think they're just going to kind of slowly build her, get her wins against opponents like the Bunny, like Tay Conti, probably Chris Statlander, and kind of move her in that direction. Now, Chris Statlander, I really like, and I hope that she continues to improve and gets a push of her own. But for right now, it seems like they're kind of strapping the rocket to Red Velvet, to Serena Deeb, to Britt Baker, and most importantly, to Thunder Rosa.
Hey, and you know what? Chris Jericho said this too during the after press conference, was that he's like, people are saying that like there's too much stuff going on Dynamite, and Marcus and we've talked about that several times too. But he was saying like, but what we're giving people are samples of these guys and gals. Is like they're getting these opportunities. Oh, well, here's a Nick Camarado, or here's a Red Velvet. Here's somebody here. Their story is going to be told later on, but you're getting teases of them at this point in time. And I think we're going to get to those. So like somebody like a Red Velvet or Chris Statlander, maybe they have their match or a title match against Britt Baker or something, and they don't win, but that doesn't necessarily mean their story's done and over with. There's more to come later on. So, I mean, there's aspects of that,
DJ asked, did Deeb turn heel at the pay-per-view? Dominic, I didn't watch. Did you?
Oh, Marcus, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I would not call that a full heel turn. I would say she played heel in the role. But yeah, she was very heelish in the match against Rio. And it was a great opener for the buy-in. Deeb's awesome. And Marcus, I mean, it's kind of playing into, maybe our hopes that she might line up with the Pinnacle or FTR and something like that, because she would fit right in there. Like you position her in the right way. So,
yep. And here's the thing is, if she is going to have a feud with Thunder Rosa and ultimately drop the NWA women's belt to Thunder Rosa, which is my anticipation of what's going to happen, then I don't think it would be a bad thing to have one of the women working a strong heel angle while the other woman is a strong baby face. I like the fact that those two were both kind of coming in as baby faces, and it's like, okay, who's the better wrestler? And that's been their thing so far. But let's get a different flavor of that rivalry. Yeah.
And like, I think it kind of can play into Serena's story because people are really behind her, and you can kind of lean into like, oh, they're comparing her to Bret Hart, and like maybe and Dee Malenko, the Woman of 1,000 Holds, maybe she's just letting that get to her head a little too much, and now she's a little more egotistical about things. I think that's a good story to tell with her.
Sure, absolutely, and she can back it up. She's the new excellence of execution,
right? So, it wasn't a full heel turn. It wasn't like, okay, that's Serena's now bad. I think it was just she was playing that role, but I think it's teasing to something. That's just my thoughts.
Dom, Steven is asking, I wonder if Sheeta's going to get a rematch with Baker. More than that, Dominic, because I don't think so, at least not anytime soon. Where are they going with Sheeta?
That's tough. That's tough because she had a hell of a run, like for over a year. And now, but now it's kind of just time to, it's time to make that transition. It was time to make that transition and move on. I think she's going to be away for a little bit, maybe, or not necessarily in the limelight. I think they'll find something for her to go up against. It's not going to be Britt, but it's going to be somebody like a different heel, that she can go up against her new adversary to maybe maybe Serena, at some point. So
sure,
something to that effect.
All right, let's circle back though. Miro taking on Evil Uno next week for the TNT title. Miro with just a hellacious promo. I'm glad I was wrong about it. I said when he debuted, never put a live mic in his hand again because it was not a strong promo. But man, he has improved big time. It was a good promo. He had some funniness in it where he was like thanking God for his muscle, but then also, thank God for my power, but also for my hot wife. Which I think Lana is inevitably going to be coming over to AEW, probably to pair with him, which is fine. But yeah, dude, Miro is where it's at. I'm excited to see him absolutely rip apart Evil Uno.
I think it will be a squash, man. I don't know how it can't be. I think
it has to be.
Yeah, I think maybe Evil Uno will get a couple of athletic stuff in, but afterwards it's just going to be boom, like game over, literally. So I think that's what it's going to be like. Miro, no, it was a good way. Miro's been hot, and it's been good. It's been good to see. He's definitely a highlight of the show and the promotion at the moment. So
he's currently my favorite participant in the.
How about that, man? Like, that's pretty impressive because like he was not for a long time.
No, I kept saying like, man, he's got so much potential. They're ruining him. It's a stupid video game crap. Like I was not liking Miro as a character at all. As a talent, yep. As a character, nope. But now it's like every time he's on the screen, I just kind of like drop what I'm doing. I'm like, all right, what are we doing here? Who's he gonna tear apart? So yeah, it's like I compared him to Goldberg earlier and said that he should have a run like that. The nice thing about Miro is that he's actually a good worker. So and the Goldberg wasn't. He was just like a runaway freight train.
Yeah, where like, hey, you're going up against Goldberg, just sell for him, and
right.
He's just a train.
where Miro is like a freight train, but you can control it because he's good. So man, it's going to be something else to watch where they go. Tony Khan, please do the. I know you're listening, Tony. He always does. Because it feels like he does because sometimes he follows our advice on here. But dude, push it. Tony Khan, if you are listening, legitimately push him to the moon. Don't let him get beat for a year and a half, 2 years. 3 years. I don't care. Give him a Bruno Sammartino run, because then when somebody like Jungle Boy finally beats him, finally gets over on him after he's defeated all these larger than life opponents, then next thing you know, Jungle Boy is it. He's the guy.
Now, and I think that kind of plays to you, like what you were saying about getting another title in the mix, because I think that is kind of important to like, okay, you make these titles viable, but I think by making them viable, you make them be held on for a long time. And Miro is like the perfect guy to have that title for a really long time, and establish that belt as something very hard to attain. And so if you have something like a junior heavyweight title or a cruiserweight title, whatever you call it, then like you can have that kind of be something some of the other talent can compete for. And, and then you don't have to worry so much about like, okay, this is getting stale because Miro's had this forever, or it's just like, who's going to top Miro? And then you play into stories of like, okay, we're lining these guys up. Maybe this guy will beat him. Or like, even if you had a, like, not saying that they should do this, but somebody like mentions like Hangman in a bar fight with Miro. Like, you could imagine Hangman beating Miro, but what if he didn't beat Miro? There's that, element of, I don't know what's going to happen. So, if you have another title that you add for Rampage or, and yeah, I'm kind of with you. It should be like, cruiserweight. I'm all in with that now, Mark. But I think that's something to kind of consider there.
So I'm seeing some people saying DJ is saying Aiden English and Lana can get back in with Rusev in AEW, and I don't know if I want to see Aiden English there.
No, it's just that was more comedy, and that was good for when it was. It did help Miro get over with Rusev Day, but now no, I think we're past that point. I think it's more so like to how much I want Andrade to be like the Latino Ric Flair. Like as a solo act, Miro really needs to establish himself as a solo act. Now bring Lana in, that's fine. But to pair him up with Aiden English, just because they have a history together. Now to have him fight Aiden English, I wouldn't be against that.
Michael saying Andrade versus Omega. We damn sure hope so. I think we'll see it eventually. We're certainly going to see it with AAA. So keep your eyes open for that. But all right, Dominic, let's go ahead and start to wrap this thing up. We're at an
real
hour
quick though. I did want to mention this. DJ asked what you think of Steve Cutler signing with Impact. I really liked what they did on Impact with him. Marcus, you didn't see this, but he's Steve Cutler's former Marine, and he's also the fiance of Deonna Purrazzo. But basically, he kind of almost had like this Punisher vibe, where he's like sitting there with a Jameson. Like you just see a Jameson, like a shot of Jameson there, and then they pan over, and there's like this old. Then you know me, like we grew up with Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, and stuff. So they had like this old kind of like crooner music playing in the background as he's sitting there, and he's just like he takes a drink of it and like is just sitting there. It was a really cool way to establish somebody and bring and introduce somebody to the crowd. So I really like that DJ. I thought they did a very good job with him, made him unique. And yeah, I think it's going to be very cool to see what they do with, oh, geez, what's his name now? Macklin. Yeah, Macklin now. So I think that'll be great. I like him. Yeah. So
Dominic, DJ just said, I'm sorry to interrupt you. DJ just said there's a video on YouTube saying Charlotte is not happy with Andrade signing with AEW. I think that's false. I saw on Twitter that she was pumped.
She was pumped.
Yeah, she was super pumped about his debut to the point where I was like, I wonder how WWE is going to react about her putting over something that's happening.
But you know what? Charlotte here has all the leverage in the world.
Oh, she can do whatever she wants.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
She could probably tweet, fuck WWE, and they'd still want to keep her.
They'd be like, well, we got, okay.
Yep. Hey, could you not, please?
Yeah, I'm still going to do it. Yeah, I mean, dude, and to think of that, I mean, this is way down the road here, but geez, you got to think they haven't utilized Charlotte to her fullest potential in WWE. And, you know, that door is there.
I mean, when her contract expires, wouldn't it kind of make sense for her to say, like, I kind of want to be with my husband, right?
Yeah. Yeah, right? That's kind of the thing, man. It's kind of the thing. Yeah, I think that's something to not really be too concerned with. But
let's go ahead and get into wrapping up. We're at over an hour and 15 minutes here. So, Dominic, why don't we go ahead and do Meltzer rating? I guess.
You want to do that first?
Yeah, sure. I'm just throwing to myself here. So for the Meltzer rating, I always do like out of 10. So, yeah, I'm gonna see. You know, there was some good stuff. There was some stuff that I wasn't crazy about. I guess I'm not going to say it's right down the line because I think that the good outweighed the bad. So on this one, I'm just going to give it a straight up. This is the first time I've ever given just like a straight up number, Dominic. A 7 out of 10.
That's good.
Yeah, not bad. That's
a good rating.
A strong 7 out of 10. Good program, not great program. I think that the opener was not good. I think that it showed good athleticism and gave some of these fans who really like the gymnastics what they like. Not my thing, but that's why I didn't like it. But yeah, pretty good program. So do you want to move on to MVPs, Dominic?
Yeah, let's do it. Do you want to go
ahead? No, by all means.
Okay. I'm going Jungle Boy, man. I just think it's just was a strong week for him, and they're really putting him in a great position. And you know, I think, you know, it's just in the right direction for Jungle Boy. I'm all in. Like, I like JR putting him over as Jack Perry. I just like the positioning it is. Like, a great spot for Jungle Boy. So he's my MVP this week. How about you?
I've got to go with Anthony Ogogo, man. I see big potential in him. I'm talking like megastar potential in him. So I hope they continue to ride it and put him in a position with people who know with the ins and outs of working the ring, so that he can continue to you know, rise and be the star that he is. Michael just asked, will we see Ric Flair in AEW? Doubt it.
I doubt it too. I think he's pretty happy with being, you know, in AEW, I mean, in WWE, and like has a good relationship with them and pretty happy. Like, I mean, like they haven't positioned him well as a character on television, but you know, his ties are with WWE, and I think he's okay with that.
I think WWE is going to play keep away, just keep forking money over to him to keep him away and, you know, make sure that he doesn't show up. You know, that being said, though, if he was going to ever show up on AEW, the fact that his son-in-law, who he loves, is now part of the program. You know,
did you see him, Andrade suplexing him into the pool?
Yes. So I mean, he loves the guy. So I wouldn't be completely shocked if he showed up, but I would say I'm something like 80% sure that he probably won't.
I mean, DJ makes a good case for Andrade. Obviously, he should be considered.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Just by sheer fact of the fact that he debuted.
The moment. Yeah. The moment of it. Good ratings, too. Overall positive ratings. Michael gives it a 7. James gives it a 7. DJ also gives it an 8.9.
Nesha 7.5. Yeah, I mean, a good program for sure. We were all pretty consistent with one another. DJ really putting it over with the 8.9, but it's dude, week after week it's trending upward. It doesn't feel like that long ago I was giving them like 5.2s, 4.8s, stuff like that. So yeah, they're trending upward week after week. They're getting better and better.
I know, and it's easy to compare WWE to these because hey, WWE is not delivering when it comes to like product. And obviously, like with these talent releases too, they're making news because of that. And like it just shows you, like AEW is giving you an alternative to watch, and like it's very easy to poke holes into whatever you're watching, especially if you're a wrestling fan. And like it would be the same thing with comic books or anything like that, But with this, it is a good alternative, and what they put on last night was really refreshing, I thought, and you have that unexpected surprise. You have these talents mixing in established talents from WWE and other promotions, mixing in with new talents of their own accord. So I say you can bitch about wrestling all you want, but what they did last night was very, very refreshing, and I really liked it. So it's a fun show to watch. I don't think you can really argue that necessarily.
Let's close it out on this Dominic DJ. He's got one last comment about WWE. WWE will improve when the live crowds come back. I hate to say it, DJ, but I disagree. I think that WWE has not been a good product for years. I don't think that the pandemic has a lot to do with it. I think more than anything, it's about Vince McMahon essentially running out of ideas. And then like the first time somebody throws creative at him, he's just like, yeah, whatever, just get it on TV.
Or it's just being like, no, I don't like that, and I'm doing it. Let's do this instead, or let's change this at the last moment.
I want it to be good, dude. I really do. And I was watching it fairly consistently. I would say back around 2013, 2014, in that era, I was watching the program pretty consistently, just like kind of hoping like, okay, give us what we used to love. Like, let's do, okay, fine. If you're PG, fine. But like, just give us what we used to enjoy about the program. And they haven't been delivering that for a long time. And the ratings are reflecting it. They're doing another Legends night, aren't they?
Probably. I mean, that's what, I don't know if they are or not. I don't think I heard anything like that. Did you just see a meme online?
Yeah, so I assumed it was legitimate.
No, I think that was just like their Band-Aid that they always do.
That's a really funny meme though. If you guys didn't see it, it's like the old like that tape with that guy, the Flex Seal guy.
Steel guy.
Yeah, where he's got like a water tank that's leaking and he just like slaps the tape up, but somebody put in like slapping and it's like Legends Night.
Yep, that's what it is. It's like a Band-Aid on a open wound.
Yep, it is.
That's all. And like, I think it'll be refreshing once those live crowds do come back for WWE and fans to come in. But listen, that's only short. That's going to be short term. That's a short, the wick's very short on that.
Yep, the crowd is going to be hyped for the first couple of events. And then they're going to be like, oh yeah, this product sucks.
Yeah. Oh wait. Yeah, this is bad. And I'm bored by this,
Right.
It's just, they don't position their talents well, whether they're talented or not. You look at so many of them, from Sasha Banks to, you name it, Bailey, any of those top talents that they can utilize, they don't make the most of it. And it's been diminishing returns. And I think we're going to see more and more of that as time goes on. And as AEW continues to further establish themselves as a viable alternative product. So yeah, man.
Dominic, you and I are a viable alternative product here. Just tune into us. Forget about WWE. Watch Dynamite and then check out our show afterwards. Guys, that's going to do it for this week. Again, my name is Marcus D'Angelo. You can follow me at Marcus P. D'Angelo on Twitter. You can follow this podcast at 2 Dynamite Dudes with Attitude. Dominic and I are recording another live podcast tomorrow, wherein I am rereading WCW. We are at the Go Home show before Uncensored 1998. And boy, oh boy, it is going to be a banger of a show. So you can follow that podcast. It's called WCW Rewritten. You can follow that on Twitter at WCW Rewritten. Dominic, go ahead, get your shit in.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Dominic D'Angelo. You can follow WrestleZone on Twitter at WrestleZone.com and go to WrestleZone.com for all your wrestling news needs. Now, I mentioned like the Double or Nothing after post show and stuff like that the press was able to do. I was there, and so you can check out our clip where we cover Chris Jericho and talk to Chris Jericho on YouTube. It's getting a lot of hits on there, so thanks for checking that out. But yeah, you can also listen to the full audio of Tony Khan's part 2, where he talks to us for like 30 minutes and answers all our questions and certain things like that. And so that's also available on our podcast feed. So check that out. There's a lot of interviews that we have going on too. Sean Spears, our editor Bill Pritchard interviewed Sean Spears just before Double or Nothing kicked off. And then we also have, I'm trying to think, there's a couple other interviews. Zicky Dice, if you have not seen my Zicky Dice interview, please check that out. He was ringside at AEW Dynamite. I can't believe it.
Yeah, he was the guy with the blonde mullet. Can't miss him.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, guys, if you haven't listened to, you constantly hear us putting over Thunder Rosa on this program. If you haven't listened to it, Dominic and I interviewed Thunder Rosa, God, must be 4 weeks ago now.
Yeah, like probably over a month at this juncture, yeah.
Something like that. But, dude, it was an awesome interview, very enlightening. She's such a nice person. I think that you put the video on the YouTube, so go ahead and check that stuff out.
Yeah, so check that out. That's she talks about her promotion to Mission Pro, which I even asked Tony Khan. I mentioned to Tony Khan about too, so...
But I didn't say it at all during this podcast. It's usually part of my shtick where I say it at least once a podcast, just like I do the cruiserweight title in AEW. But she is the best wrestler on the face of the planet, bar none. Man, woman, nobody comes close. So go and watch that interview because you're legitimately looking at a future superstar, future Stone Cold Steve Austin. I really see her being positioned like that in the future.
100%. I agree with you too, man. I agree. It's just a matter of time. She's amazing. That's so great to see. Like, somebody that's captivating on television again. So
yeah, it's you easily become disenchanted when you meet enough pro wrestlers where you're just like, it's just a dude, whatever. But like, I was pumped up to talk to Thunder Rosa. She is the best on the face of the planet. Dominic, do you have anything else you want to get in?
No, not necessarily. Just real quick, Noel. I read rumors WWE is moving a lot of NXT talent to the main roster, including Parker Bordeaux, I think is his last name. He looks like Brock Lesnar a lot. They probably maybe they're doing that, but it's also short-term thinking. I think it's just an itchy trigger finger because there's a desperation to kind of get themselves reestablished. AEW is making some news here, and WWE is making news, but more so in the negative fashion at this juncture, and they want to kind of make more waves. It's just a lot of issues with WWE, and it's just basically boils down to who's in charge, and that's what it is. And unless that changes, you're not going to see a whole lot of change. Maybe a little shifts here and there temporarily, but that's been over the course of time, and that's how it's always going to be to do. So other than that, I think that's about it, Mark. Good show.
Yeah, good show, guys. Thank you all for joining us. Yeah, we really appreciate you guys coming in here and talking to us. We try to answer as many questions as we can. Sorry if we missed you. But if you have any more questions or if you have any topics you'd like us to discuss on the next one, you can follow us on Twitter, slide into the DMs. Don't send me anything gross. And and yeah, guys, we'll see you next week right here on Two Dynamite Dudes with Attitude from WrestleZone. Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.